All right, guys, we're going to talk about Nebraska. Nebraska loses another game to Maryland. Their defense, for them to allow Talia Tagovailoa, who's been playing in college for, quite a bit. It seems like he's in college as long as Bo Nix or Stetson Bennett. He is a really, really talented quarterback at Maryland. Okay, he's really good. Mike Locksley's been there a pretty dang long time, and they're creating explosive offense, and they've scored on just about everybody in the country. For you to go in there and get timely, strips and fumble recoveries. You look at this defense. Hutmacher has been sensational. Tommy Robinson. The hiring of little-known defensive coordinator, the hiring of the defensive coordinator at Nebraska, Tony White, who came from Syracuse, that was a brilliant move by Matt Rhule. And, going into the season, I had a little bit of questions about the 3-3-5. I thought it could work, but it's worked masterfully. I mean, who would think that, you can have three down linemen? I don't mean this sarcastically. Who would think that you're going to have a three down lineman and still be really efficient against the run? So there are aspects of this program that are fantastic. I mean, the defense against Illinois, phenomenal. The defense against Purdue just figured it out on offense and was able to score 50 on Minnesota, which was absolutely wild. All right. Going out there and actually beating a Northwestern team, that win's getting a little bit better. So I know the Big Ten West is absolutely terrible, but also this defense has stepped up, and they were good since game one. So the defense, Hutmacher's been really good. Luke Reimer, Henrich as a linebacker. This whole team, the cornerback play has been good. Tommy Hill's been good. I guess it's Luke. It's Luke Gifford's been a really good safety. So the guys are tackling, and they're tackling at an elite level. And then you have JUCO guys like James Williams getting sacks off the edge. Prince Will is a freshman. These are young guys. Hutmacher is a transfer, I believe, who's a sophomore who has years of eligibility left. You're getting the most out of everybody. Hartzog is a young player. So you're doing your job. Defensively, this team's been good. On the offensive line, they've run the ball okay. I like that they're playing Emmett Johnson. So I think the talent evaluation has actually been pretty solid, pretty decent. The good news also is ever since Matt Rhule left the Carolina Panthers, that whole organization has turned itself into a really bad football team. So Matt Rhule was actually winning more games there than his predecessor was. So that's also decent news. But now I'm going to talk about the concerning things about Matt Rhule in Nebraska, because this isn't a fairy tale. It's not a perfect score. If Matt Rhule is able to beat Wisconsin, because Wisconsin, this is the worst the Big Ten West has ever been. Illinois is terrible this year. Iowa offense is dreadful, is not good at all. But Wisconsin's usually good in the Big Ten. They're not good. Minnesota doesn't have Tyler Johnson or Rashad Bateman. They don't have Bucky Irving. They don't have Daylon Wright. They've lost their entire offense. Tanner Morgan is a better quarterback than Athan Kaliakmanis. He just is. Even though Tanner Morgan was limited, that guy would win games. This Big Ten West is terrible. Paul Chryst and the coaches, they used to have, at Wisconsin, you used to have Jonathan Taylor and really good running backs. The tight end position was good at Wisconsin. Iowa had much better players like TJ Hawkinson. I guess you could go back to George Kittle, but even Noah Fant was a stud. These are first-round picks, including guys off the edge, and then Tristan Wirth. So, this Iowa team isn't even that good either. All right, it's just not. So, this Wisconsin team's the worst Wisconsin team in quite a long time. Northwestern, Purdue is when you beat them, it's a first-year coach. So you've benefited from scheduling. So that's also the caveat I'll give. You also lost to Colorado, and you couldn't beat Minnesota. So you're 5-5, okay, with Matt Rhule. But guess what? Scott Frost won 4 games, 3 games. This team hasn't been to a bowl game in 6 years. So if they win and get to a bowl game with the type of injuries that Matt Rhule and Satterfield have had to deal with Marcus Washington going down, Isaiah Garcia Castaneda going down, Grant Irvin also going down earlier in the season, with the amount of injuries that the Huskers have accumulated, I'd be giving Matt Rhule and this staff, I'd be giving them a B or a C plus. I'd be giving them a B. If they made a bowl game with all the injuries, I'm giving them a B. Okay, it's a great stepping stone, and then you also get 3 more weeks of practices. It was said on a podcast, I believe I listened to Nick Bo Root podcast. It was said that they missed about like 90 practices because they haven't made a bowl game in 6 years. 6 times 15 it equals out to about 90, and that actually does take a toll on your team and on your depth and developing talent. Like all the freshmen like Prince Will and even Fedoni and all these other guys, and also the Malachi Coleman and Jaden Doss, like all these guys they definitely need reps. Now the thing that's really hurting them, let's talk about the Achilles heel of Matt Rhule, and it was his Achilles heel really in Carolina. At Baylor, at Temple, he had P.J. Walker, and P.J. Walker actually played in the NFL. So his quarterback evaluation was fine. At Baylor, he also had Charlie Brewer, who was a fine quarterback, but they competed in the Big 12. And I know that defense wasn't good in the Big 12, but they created really good run schemes at Baylor. They just did, all right? The Achilles heel of Matt Rhule has been explosive offense, though. In Carolina, at Baylor a little bit, he's never had a bona fide star quarterback. So look at the best coaches in all of college football. They've been able to adapt and actually have really good quarterbacks, even though they're defensive guys. And Matt Rhule's like a defensive, even though I think he played linebacker, I think of him more as like a linebacker, defensive specialist, that he will, dip into offense a little bit, but he's very tied to Satterfield. Okay, he's very tied to Marcus Satterfield. He's very, very tied to him. Okay, so in Carolina, he's gotten quarterback wrong ever since Baylor. That's the reason he's not in the NFL, because he wasn't able to develop offense. Now, I understand that for special teams coaches and defensive coaches, like even Mike Tomlin or even, John Harbaugh, unless you just happen to have a great quarterback, like an elite level guy, it's very hard to create offense. Like that's why Joe Judge failed at the NFL level. That's why certain guys a lot of them fail, because it's so hard to find the quarterback at the NFL level. But they tried to go with Baker. They tried to go with Darnold. He hired Ben McAdoo, who was a total flame out. And then Joe Brady, I liked the hire at the time of Joe Brady. It didn't work. The offenses were very poor. And now you're seeing like Marcus Satterfield. You're seeing like South Carolina fans knew that Spencer Rattler in that offense, it wasn't exactly a dynamic, consistent, really great offense. He did okay at South Carolina, just okay. But to the point where this year South Carolina's offense is a little bit better. I know they're not winning as many games. So the point is, South Carolina fans, like you took the pulse of people who watch every South Carolina game. They're like, take Marcus Satterfield, it's fine. Like I like Marcus Satterfield. The guy is a great friend of Matt Rhule, very loyal, good recruiter. I like that they want to establish an identity of running the football. I highlighted all the wide receivers that went down, but it hasn't been working. So I'm not saying to fire Marcus Satterfield. I think that would be unfair after 1 year when, again, you're trying to break in Sims and Harburg. After 1 year, that would be an impulsive move, especially with Garcia Castaneda, with Washington out of the lineup, with Gabe Irvin going down, with the offensive line still very much a work in progress, and you're dealing with young quarterbacks. That would be an impulsive decision. That, I think, would be unfair to Marcus Satterfield. But he's definitely on the hot seat, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's on the hot seat for next year. So Matt Rhule, they went out and they landed Daniel Kalen. this team needs an innovative offensive coordinator. You look at Kansas State, and they went out there and they hired Colin Klein, who was a quarterback there. Chris Kleiman has no relationship to Colin Klein, but Colin Klein obviously knows about Manhattan, Kansas. And he had him as a QB coach. Chris Kleiman hired him as a QB coach, elevated him. That offense goes. That offense explodes. Deuce Vaughn was a great player. You got to have a great running back, and you got to have a solid quarterback. That's why they won a Big 12 championship. Okay, so at Nebraska, you could still land a pretty dang good quarterback. Like Atalia Tagovailoa is at Maryland. He's 5'10". He's the brother of Tua. He's a 4-star prospect because he wasn't as tall as his brother. And he wasn't as accurate. But Talia has a huge arm. And Talia, guess what? I think Talia is going to be a quarterback that actually makes a depth chart in the National Football League. That's how much I think of Talia. I actually think he'll be a 6th-round pick. If Sean Clifford was a 5th-round pick, Talia has talent. Seriously. If I'm an NFL GM, I'm thinking of Talia in the 6th round. I think that's a fine pick, even 5th round. That's how good Talia can be. He can even start games in the NFL when your quarterback goes down. So you could get a quarterback of that value, of that ilk. The point is with Matt Rhule, is he going to be too stubborn? Is he going to ride with Satterfield till the wheels totally come off? And then he failed on the Darnold. They went out and traded for Darnold in Carolina. It failed. Traded for Baker Mayfield in the NFL. I know we're talking the NFL. It failed. But then he got back to college, had Casey Thompson, and said to Casey, we got Jeff Sims, we got an NFL quarterback here. He failed on the evaluation. They needed Casey Thompson. The proof happened, okay? The season happened. We now know that it was a failure. At the time, if you were going to inject me with truth serum, I actually thought it was fine to rip the Band-Aid off of the Frost holdovers there. And for Casey Thompson, for him to go in Florida and play with Tom Herman, I know he got injured there, but it was almost like Martinez going to Kansas State. I'm like, it's fine. It's okay. I thought Sims would be better. I thought the offensive scheme, I thought they could have done more things to maybe help Sims. Fedoni is totally not the same guy since the injuries that he was at Council Bluffs. But I thought they could develop Sims. Or I thought that you can get Harburg's arm angle. He doesn't control the ball. And I don't know if that's a talent thing or what, but find easy completions, Find some outside zone stretch run plays. The offensive coordinating, it can be better. It can be a little bit better. I think that Satterfield and Rhule can improve. I think that they can be better at offense. I do. So Daniel Kalen, you get him at quarterback, okay. Now for Matt Rhule, you need to go out there and you still need to go in the portal. And you still need to look for quarterbacks, okay? And it doesn't mean it's the be-all, end-all. Was it the be-all, end-all with freaking Devin Leary or Sam Hartman? Was that the be-all, end-all? No. So people make a lot of these transfer quarterbacks. They do. But the best coaches in college football, what are they? Nick Saban had Jalen Milroe. He went and hired Tommy Rees from Notre Dame, a 32-year-old Tommy Rees. And he said, Tommy, you got Jalen Milroe. You got to figure it out. And within 5 weeks, bam, Tommy Rees figured it out. Jalen Milroe, they utilized his running ability. Their offense is clicking. Their offense is rolling. Milroe turned into a top 10 quarterback in college football. It just is. Jalen Milroe's playing at that high of a level. Dan Lanning takes on Bo Nix, who wasn't very good at Auburn, hires Kenny Dillingham. Dan Lanning is a defensive guy, defensive coordinator. But guess what? Hires a great offensive coordinator, evaluates quarterback perfectly. Chris Kleiman evaluated Will Howard and Avery Johnson, evaluated Deuce Vaughn, has really good offense. So even defensive coaches, if you're going to be great, guess what? Luke Fickell at Cincinnati had Desmond Ridder, still really good offense. If you're a defensive coach, you still got to evaluate quarterback. You still have to know how offense works. D'Amico Ryans hires his buddy Bobby Slowick. Slowick's never called a play. Slowick is a total analyst guy. Bobby Slowick's dad was maybe an NFL executive or coach, but D'Amico Ryans selects C.J. Stroud. That organization selects Stroud. D'Amico Ryans is a defense, first head coach. That's his bread and butter. Guess what happens? They nail the C.J. Stroud pick. So that's what's going to happen with Matt Rhule. That's what I ask you guys. Do you guys trust Matt Rhule to get quarterback right? Because as the Big Ten expands and as the Big Ten's going to get harder, look at who's coming in the league. DeBoer, Lanning, Chip Kelly, Lincoln Riley. It's so hard to have the whole package. Like Lincoln Riley has offense to the 1%. He is in the 1 percentile or the 99 percentile of offense. He is as elite can be on offense. On defense, he hasn't figured it out. So, Matt Rhule, you have pretty good resources at Nebraska. You're still going to be playing teams in the Big Ten West. It's going to be hard to win 7 or 8 games. It's going to be hard. And then you'll maybe win 9 games and go to an expanded playoff. The way that college football is, who knows how it's going to be. It's ridiculously tough. I don't like the road. It's actually better that teams like Florida State can actually make the playoff in the ACC. The balance is good right now. The Pac-12 is really good. The SEC has its teams. It's really good the way it is. And a 4-team playoff, it rewards great teams. So I actually like the model. But the conference expansion is going to mess everything up. Playoff expansion, like Penn State can't even throw the ball, but they beat up on a bunch of Big Ten teams. And yeah, let's reward a team that fires their offensive coordinator by sending them to the playoff for a chance to win a national championship. Come on. What are we doing? Anyway, a rant for another day. But can Matt Rhule evaluate quarterback? Can he get offensive coordinator right? Is Satterfield going to really improve next year? Save his job that's too intense of wording, but can he elevate himself to really fill this role and be a worthy, really good offensive coordinator in the Big Ten? I believe he could do it. Find the right quarterback, build some pieces. I believe in Satterfield. And Matt Rhule has improved this program. The defense is there. He's winning these close games. He's doing what he's supposed to do other than Frost. Frost never could build defense or cohesion. So he's building it a little bit. Matt Rhule's done it a couple of places. So he's off to a pretty good start. But again, it's about the quarterback. That's what I said about Rhule the whole time. It's like, once Rhule gets his quarterback, this thing is going to be elite. You could turn a good team, and then if you have a Todd Reesing or you just get Chase Daniel at quarterback, then bam, you're good. You're going to actually go to the playoff. Like, look at how good Jordan Travis or Bo Nix is. Look at how good Jaden Daniels is. You hit on that quarterback. You hit on the offensive coordinator. You have this defense here with Tony White and Matt Rhule. If Rhule puts this defense with a quarterback, that isn't rocket science. That's elite. But if that's all the question. That's what every question is going to be about Matt Rhule, is how great is Rhule going to be? Are we going to get 7 wins in Nebraska, or are you going to go 9 wins and be Chris Kleiman, be Lance Leipold, and be a really, really elite level coach at Nebraska?